Hello everyone and welcome back to the Brightworks. Today, taking a look at a game of Supreme Straights. We're going to be looking at some not super high true skill, not super low true skill. These are the medium players, but it's a very nice spread of skills overall. We have a very even matchup, and so I'm excited to watch some more strategies here and see what happens. This is an older replay that was sent in to me. So if there was a note attached to this, it's been too long and I've forgotten what it said. So we might as well be going into this completely blind with each other, which is exactly the way that I like to do it. Let's meet our team, shall we? Spawning in the southwestern side, we have our red leader, Djent. Reminds me of Django Unchained, a very cool movie, very fun. Yeah, I don't have much more to say. It's just a good movie. Djent here, the red leader, taking a spot right up on the front line. You love to see it. It's not so night and day on these teams. You can see the true skill values over here right next to all the names. And it's not really like there's one person on either team that's a lot higher than everyone else. So it's a very even skill distribution. Interestingly, we have Brexit YOLO, one of the lower skill players here, and Mickle 105, the lowest true skill player here. Does not reflect their quality. We judge you by the quality of your play, not the amount of your true skill here. Very I don't know, sounded American in my head, but that's probably just a good idea overall, regardless of where you're from. A lot of Americans and Britons on this team, with one Canadian. This is Team North America right here, and this is the Axis powers. We've got everybody. I guess not really. Don't take that at face value. That's not true at all. But anyway, our blue team spawning in the northwestern side. Our blue leader, Wololo. Wololo. Wolulu. Wolololololololololo. What can I say? I love these names here. Absolutely wonderful. Taking a backline position here, so probably going to be teching up nice and proper. Fusto Raw, the off-brand force shout, taking up the other backline position over here. You might have noticed, this is something that I'm ashamed to admit how late it took me to realize this, but all the colors are the same between the matches. These are, it's not a random selection of colors. The colors are always assigned based on, sorry, I'm getting distracted reading this, banana for some reason. They're always based on the true skill value that you have, and in the case that you have a mirror, it just I assume it must go by either random or it's based on hours played or something like that. We'll skip ahead here. Wow, a lot of drawings came out there, very interesting. And we'll get this match underway. Either way though, this is kind of interesting because we have the two most experienced players, or at least the two highest true skill value players here for the red team on the front line against a little bit less experienced players. Devilman up here. I mean, with a true skill of 20, you should definitely be well aware of how to play the game. Fibbert, likewise, 20 true skill. So these players, they're definitely going to be competent here, but I'm interested to see how this interaction goes down. Our C lane player here for the blue team is going to be Blue J9, 22 true skill, and I'm expecting to see some really interesting plays. Looks like we're going for the greedy start here, where we're just building metal extractors, and then we're rushing right ahead to get the other metal extractors forward on this island. Going to be matched up today against Shootapalooza. Love that name. That is absolutely fantastic. Shootapalooza. It sounds like every shooter carnival game, the ones where they give you a little BB gun and you gotta knock down as many targets as possible in a certain amount of time. It's exactly what this reminds me of. Very epic name. Love to see that. Brings a childhood tear to my eye. Spawning in the C lane here for the red team, we have Zeus Talos. Why does that name ring a bell? I mean, I know where Zeus comes from, but Talos, where does that come from? Maybe somebody down below can let me know where that name comes from. Zeus Talos, if you're listening, let me know how you got your name, because it sounds very interesting, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Zeus Talos is going to be going up against today Anjinsan. Not exactly sure how to pronounce this one. Looks like, which flag is that? Ooh, I feel like I should probably know these by now, but I don't. Anjinsan, our light green player here, our lime green player. I need to think of another color to call these ones. This is dark green. Maybe this is just regular green. This is just green. Jack Snacks will be our green player. Either way, very light green here, going to be matched up. And we are actually pretty late to make that shipyard. Zeus Talos has rushed all the way forward here and got the shipyard out very nice and early. So that's probably going to give them a very nice competitive advantage in the water. Blue Jay 9 starting up their lab, and we can see there's already boats out and patrolling for Shootapalooza. I would love to see these moved across the map to try and harass down any potential buildings that are coming up for their lane partner. But I think as long as we are building a navy, all is going to be well. Sorry, I just thought a spider just bit me. Anyway, Shootapalooza now officially moving these units out, just taking a little look around, courtesy look. We have some ticks brought out. Oh, I forgot to mention the official get a unit out on the field award. Wasn't paying attention to exactly who that was, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to award that one. Maybe you guys saw and you can leave a comment down below, but otherwise we're going to have to skip that one this time. A single tick makes it past Gent and makes it into the back line here. There is a grave robber brought out. I think we're going to try and eat the tick. Interesting. The tick is much faster, so it will definitely be able to run right past. And it gets into the main base of Gent, so how much damage can it do? Looks like it's going to get a metal extractor at the very least. You always have to be careful with these ticks. If you put them too close, they're going to get exploded by the metal extractor. Now, it's a very high-level decision to make, but you can always remember that if you have a metal extractor that's being harassed by, say, a single tick, you can always self-destruct the metal extractor, and it will blow up the tick, and it will potentially stop the tick from harassing any more of your backline. It's a very difficult decision to make, right? Because how much do you dedicate towards a single tick? And especially what I like here is that we're resurrecting these, so there's no need to rebuild. It's just going to cost us a little bit of energy. So this is a phenomenal play here by Degent. It seems like a minor thing, but it's actually a very nice strategic decision to go for that. Hardly ever see people self-destruct buildings in order to, sacrifice them to do more damage to enemy units that are rushing by. But it is something to keep in mind. It is one of your tactical options. Rocket bots are out here for Fibbert, the green player here, and they are going to start pushing back these lines of light laser turrets being built up by swings. Take a little sip of my drinky and move this off of the table so that I can sip on that without putting a little thump in your guys' ears. Speaking of thumps in your guys' ears, I'd like all of you to consider subscribing down below. I know you hear it from every single YouTuber, but we are almost to 1,000 subscribers. Who's going to be the lucky 1,000th subscriber? Don't hold out on me. Don't look at it and be like, oh, I better wait to try and beat the 1,000 subscribers. Subscribe when you can. Otherwise, we're never going to get to 1,000, and that's going to make me really sad. But no, I'm super excited. By the time this video comes out, maybe we'll have already reached it, and that would be phenomenal. I have so many interesting plans that I want to get started as soon as monetization starts actually rolling in. For anybody who's unaware, I have a post that'll be coming out as well. It might even, like I said, it might beat this video out, but I'll talk about it here. If when you hit 1,000 subscribers, that's the contingent, the fulcrum on which YouTube decides that you have made it big enough that you are worth you are worth paying for your content, right? They're willing to pay you a percentage of the amount of advertising money that normally they would just take. So it's nice. It's not like there's more ads. It's just the ads that there already are, I end up getting paid for. I think it's like 50% or something close to that. Which is really neat, right? That means that I can actually use that money to sponsor different things. Things like, perhaps, tournaments. Have some actual prize pools for some tournaments. I think that would be really fun, and it's basically a no cost to me. I mean, when I started this channel, I definitely didn't plan to make money off of it. That was never really the goal. But if I'm going to be paid for it anyway, I might as well put it back towards this game that we all love, and maybe it'll bring some new opportunities to people to show their skills off in a competitive setting. Convince some of these super good players, maybe some of the hidden gems, to come out of retirement and come play for our entertainment. Because at the end of the day, a cash prize is going to be a much better motivator than glory ever could. Maybe that's not true, though. Maybe glory is worth it for some people more than the cash prize. We see some units have managed to break through here. A couple of pawns actually causing a whole lot of trouble in the back line. There's not a great answer out yet. We do see a thug. Oh, it misses its shots though. That one hits, and it does take down the pawn. Still one more over here though. It pulled back for some reason. Yeah, there we go. Oh, I bet it's on a control group. I bet there's a control group with pawns on it over here, and he pulled it back to the front line on accident. We need to see this move. Yep, that's exactly what's happening. You can see it being pulled into formation here, right next to all these other pawns. That's pretty funny. Yep, if we keep moving this, we can absolutely do some economy damage here, and the pink player is going to be extremely grateful for that, because every little advantage, every little metal advantage is going to be super, super nice in this naval field. We did have Zeus Telos go for the metal extractors up here, which I love to see. That's going to give them an extreme advantage over this beachhead player, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up winning the naval battle because of that. Down south, the sea is much more evenly contested. This island has not been claimed by either player, so that could definitely swing the tide here. Single res ship left out in the open, not a big fan of that. And also, we do not have anything to deal with submarines. I'm just realizing now these are all dolphins and skaters, no submarine attacking units whatsoever. So these submarines actually have free reign at the moment. Very, very dangerous. They can definitely move forward and get a few snipes on some of the stuff out in this direction. Snipes on some of Blue Jay's production here. Front lines are looking pretty stagnant though. We've got just about the same amount of metal and resources and whatnot put onto the front lines here. We can see this really popular strategy that's popped up where you build a forward vehicle lab. It's not assisted by anything, so it builds vehicles really slowly, but that also means it doesn't really contribute very much to your overall metal cost, which is quite nice. And eventually you're going to have a nice little vehicle army built up, because of course these are much more tanky than the bots. Really, really liking that strategy. I'm seeing it more and more, and I think I'm going to have to adapt to play that strategy myself just because of how effective it is. Now eventually that push from pink was wrapped up, was stopped, which does mean that there's a lot of wreckages around here. You can see the sort of downed debris, and that can all be refloated or reclaimed, which would be lovely to see. But also we do not have these metal extractors back here. These have been down forever, and we absolutely need to see these rebuilt. This one on the island as well, and all of these. We are severely lacking on metal income right now. We have 6 metal production, and honestly, I don't even know where that's coming from. We have 2.3 here, and we have some energy converters, so that's not even really that great. We are prioritizing defenses instead of economy here, which I think is definitely not the move. I think we should probably be going for that economy boost in order to get the advantage here. At this point, pink is transitioning into look at that, proper distribution of units. What a downright proper composition here. We've got destroyers, Elsa, submarines, and dolphins, all in a lovely, lovely composition. I absolutely love to see that. Huge props to Zeus Talos playing this phenomenally. Excellent job with that. On this side, Shootapalooza doing the same thing. We've got the destroyers coming out. We've got the herrings coming out. I think for Cortex, my opinion might change over time here, but I think the opinion that I currently hold is that Cortex is much, much more capable of building just destroyers. You can focus really heavily on destroyers with maybe some missile corvettes as like fire support, whereas Armada is much more dependent on building a composition of units, in my opinion. And that's subject to change as I get more experience playing with both factions, but at my current experience level, I think that's how I feel about the lineup between the matchups there. So that does mean that the destroyers are a decent option for they're probably your best option if you're going for naval units as a Cortex player. But also, if you're going as an Armada player, it means you have to pick your battles really, really precisely. You have to make sure you focus down one unit at a time, and you don't want to be exposing units to the battleships and losing them carelessly. We can see units being refloated here, construction ships and whatnot that were brought down at one point. We see a few skaters that have ran past the submarine blockade, and there are a few destroyers out now, so we are going to see those submarines eat metal, suck depth charge. Submarines do turn to fire, launching torpedoes, but the depth charges start to fall. And indeed, those destroyers do good work against those submarines. Very, very nicely done. Submarines turn tail and run, but of course those destroyers can still fire on them when they turn and run away. So this is not looking very good for these submarines, and indeed, I think they will all fall. There they go. Very nicely done. Very, very nicely done. With those submarines out of the way, that's a much less threatening army. Very nicely done building those destroyers. I think that was definitely the right call there. Let's take a look at the back lines, shall we, since the front lines appear to be stagnant, at least for now. Backline player here, this light salmon player. We have a T2 air lab out. So we have T2 air constructors. Wow, look at that solar array. Or this windmill array, rather. Every time I see one of these, my mind immediately jumps to a bomber. You know, 1 or 2 bombers. I mean, with this many in a row, you don't even need 2 bombers. You could quite literally put 1 bomber. Every single bomb you know would hit a solar or a wind turbine. God, why am I getting those mixed up so often? Yeah, that would be really devastating. We are on 77 windmill production here. For this player here, we have a couple advanced solars, which I think I like a little bit more. Makes your base a little bit harder to target, but we also have these sand batteries, which is quite nice. Going for T2 metal or T2 constructors rather. We do have one out already, upgrading our metal extractors, and I am guessing, yep, this one was handed off to a teammate on the front lines. Very nicely done. Get that T2 economy out for all your teammates. That's lovely. Not sure why Lord Fat Nut didn't produce a T2 constructor already for this player. Hilarious name, by the way. But either way, it's still going to be fine. Maybe they were asking in chat for a aerial one. I'm not sure. I wasn't quite paying attention to that. We're building defenses all over the place, which is interesting. Those defenses can definitely soften up a lot of these targets here, which is nice. It does mean that those naval engagements are going to be quite a bit easier. But also, it's hard to gauge whether that's a worthwhile usage of metal, especially considering the destroyers can outrange those defenses. Hounds have hit the field here, and they're going to start devastating all of these units. Yeah, Centurions, not even, I mean, everything's just too slow, right? That's the real problem with the Hounds, is that they're so fast, they're so deadly. They're really, really hard to deal with because they're so able to kite around and maneuver away from all of your fire. Meanwhile, you know, firing at you, so very, very difficult to deal with those. Fidos, I believe they used to be called in older variations of this game. Although I'm not sure where Fido comes from, like the name specifically. It must just have been a really popular name, dog name back in the day. Trying to remember the name of the dog that went up in the spacecraft. Maybe somebody down below can let me know, can remind the whole community what that dog's name was. Rest its soul. Poor thing. Destroyers meet destroyers here. Those big ship guns start firing on each other. We are abandoning compositions and we are just heading into heavy destroyer gameplay. No serious problem with that, although getting a bunch of your resurrection subs caught is really, really unfortunate. Whoever wins this battle is definitely going to have a bigger navy in the next one. Because, well, of course, these can be refloated by friendly devices. So I'd love to see these units, yep, fall back and just defend this pile while we get some resurrection submarines out, which are not present, actually. We've actually gone for a tech up. Interesting. We do have res subs coming up now. Very, very nice. Definitely going to need to resurrect all this stuff before the enemy can pull it out. Reclaim it would actually not be bad either. Yeah, okay, we're going to go for the reclaim. I was thinking in terms of building up a navy, but since we've actually got this T2 lab up and running, it's definitely going to be worthwhile to eat up all this metal instead. If we take a look at exactly how much is out here, almost 3,000 metal in wreckages here. Definitely going to be a couple of those T2 units. Very nice. Bulls being used to push in this front line, you know I love them. They are so damaging, so tanky. Do that nice little AoE effect. If we take a look here, you can see there's a nice little AoE splash on their attacks, and their attacks hit like trucks. Hit like a bull, maybe that's what I should say. Wow, what was that? Something just fired right there. It looks like these rocketeers are firing at airplanes. So they're flying up into the air and coming back down. This is a weird array of units. Let's call it an array of units here. Is this, are these on like a patrol point? Ah, okay. Interesting. So we've got a patrol of various vehicles. I mean, we've got a little bit of everything here. No destroyers, I guess I would say, so this might be susceptible to... actually, there's one there. Just one? Are we building a composition here? No, we're building dolphins at this point. Much less precise, shall we say. I don't like how much static defense we're going for, though. I think that's really metal that could be better spent in army. Wow, these are still not up. These metal extractors have been down for so long. Anjin-san is definitely going to be in a severe metal deficit for a long time here. Zeus Talos does not have a T2 constructed, though. Probably should be asking for one from the team. Maybe they have and have not received it. Either way, yeah, definitely one of these should be shared to Zeus Talos, who does not have the T2 economy up and running yet, which is eventually going to hurt him. It's almost balancing the scales here from Anjin-san, who is now going up to a T2 economy, but has way less metal extractors. Submarines are pushing forward here to try and deal some damage. They're just shooting down whatever they can. Destroyer here soaking up a lot of shots. Submarine soaking up a lot of shots as well. Destroyer is working on them, but I think there's enough submarines here. Some of those other boats took some hits for the destroyer, but eventually it will sink. There's another destroyer coming out, so eventually I think these submarines are going to get mopped up, but it is going to be quite inconvenient to do so. What happened here? Why did we abandon this field? There must have been an engagement here that I did not notice, as now there is a tremendous amount of destroyers out and available for the orange player here. Shunapalooza has, in a turnaround of events, managed to capture this reclaim field, and rather than reclaim it, they've resurrected it, which is going to be tremendously valuable. There's even a paladin here, a T2, what is it called? No, not a carrier, a cruiser, that's the word. The T2 cruiser has 2 depth charge launchers and a heavy cannon on top of it, and somehow that went down as well. Yeah, this is suddenly looking really bad for Blue Jay, who does not have a navy out at the moment. We have some gunships coming up. Seaplane gunships. The Saber. Very cool. Could be helpful, although there's a lot of static defense here, and we do have some of these missile trucks in order to shoot some of those down, so I'm not quite so sure how well that's going to work out. I guess we'll just have to see. Anybody going for a nuke in the back line? That's something that we can always keep our eyes on. We are going for a economic expansion, but we still have our T2 lab, which is a bit puzzling. We have a T2 aerial launch pad here, but we are teching up. Although it looks like we are going for fighters, so that makes a little more sense. So I would keep that one up and running. In the red back line, we already have a single dragon out, and maybe we'll be going for more. Looks like we're content with one, and mainly just going to focus on a fighter wall now, which I think is probably a good idea, considering that there is no aerial fighter wall here for the red team at the moment. Very good job, Mikkel, getting that under control. Tons and tons of build power here. No money. This is a ton of energy converters. We probably could even have paid for a T2 energy converter just to do away with all of this. If we take a look here. Yeah, we're eating up 1,400 metal, or 1,400 energy. Almost, yeah, 1,600 energy. Depends on the wind strength, of course. We're eating up over 1,800 energy. It keeps climbing. Over 1,800 energy and turning it into 27 metal. For reference, if you built 3 of these T2 energy converters, it would do the same, and then you'd get a little bit more metal out of it still. So eventually it would pay back itself, and you don't have this massive explosive rack over here on the side of your base. Now the fusion generator is up and running, though. That's quite nice. That's going to keep a whole lot of these up and open, which is very good. We'll have a little bit of metal income. It is good that we're not leaking the energy. I guess I like that more than just leaking the energy out, so there is that to say about Brexit YOLO. And now we have this thing out, and it looks like somebody else must be leaking energy because we are now overflowing on energy here, meaning that we're at full production. 45 metal a second. That is very nice. Things are looking great for this light salmon player. Front line looks like it is basically fully evolved to a T2 battlefield. Not sure why we're friendly firing here. That was a bit odd. Caught that right in the last second. More submarines trying to push forward here, but we have more destroyers on the way as well. we're not really going for tech here, which has been interesting. We're mainly just focused on, well, the lime green player, we're not focused on tech anyway. The hot pink player has gone for a T2 lab, rather a T2 shipyard, and it is just now finishing up, which is quite nice. So we're gonna be able to get those T2 units out, start up a T2 economy maybe. That'd be phenomenal. And I'm really happy to see it. Southern Isle, we do have a destroyer out. The battleship. The Dreadnought. What a beast of a unit here. Just 2 heavy cannons. What more could you need in life? Firepower, and then some more firepower. And in case anybody asks, a little bit of extra firepower. Against destroyers, I mean, it's pretty good because the destroyers obviously can't launch their depth charges against an above water unit. So this actually, yeah, I like those destroyers quite a bit. Or rather, these battleships quite a bit. The seaplane gunships move in and immediately find the Paladin that had been resurrected. That's a really nice pick. That was basically the flagship of this tiny little navy here. Oh, let's kill it though. There we go. And yeah, these destroyers, I mean, they're not going to be taken down by these gunships. The missile ships are moving in as well. But they're going to have to retreat because you don't want to just be taking free damage. The fighters are thinking about moving in. You can see them over here. They're considering it. Paladin moves in, takes quite a lot of fire, but the battleship back here, the Dreadnought, is laying down fire as well. Not looking great, though. It turns away and it actually goes down. Wow. This is looking really bad for our lime blue player, Blue Jay. Are we thinking about con bombing? I think that's a great idea. Yep, we sure are. This is a really, really dangerous navy. All these battleships with some paladins and whatnot resurrected. Yeah, that can be really, really dangerous to deal with. And so I think if you can wipe all of this out with one fell swoop, that'd be really, really nice. We are absolutely just throwing metal into the enemy's arms here, which is really unfortunate. The orange player doing a phenomenal job, however, of making sure that all of these battles are won and that we can eat up as much of this metal as possible, turn it into new units. And so for that, I have to give them extreme commendations. We are now building some of these fast assault submarines, which are absolutely devastating, especially against battleships, because of course, again, no underwater attack for them. Yeah, the really important thing about these battleships, right, is that you keep them at the maximum safe distance, right? You don't want them to get any closer than they absolutely have to, because as soon as these battleship swarms can jump on top of them, they're actually going to get the kill. So nicely done there. We're almost using the commander like a decoy, trying to make sure that it can get a little bit of vision there. Now this is interesting. We've got some rolling bombs here. We are rolling them to this island, which has just been wiped out. I'm not sure exactly what took this down. I would hazard a guess that it was probably some gunships. I did see some gunships for this blue player here. There's also some dragons out, so it might have been one of those. But either way, this island has been devastated. And now the rolling bombs are rolling forward. Now, if they're not split, they're going to detonate each other, so we absolutely need to see these bad boys split up before they continue to roll forward. Otherwise, these torpedo bombers, or rather these torpedo launchers, are going to have a field day. Platypus as well, skimming across the water surface, trying to make a break for this line over here, but there's a ton of static defense. Very nicely done. I wouldn't have predicted that there would be static defense here. This is a bit odd. But odd in a good way. Odd in a successful way. And I guess odd in a successful way is exactly what we're looking for. A lot of these bombs are detonating here, blowing up some of the ships that are passing overhead. They were not turned off of fire at will, so they are absolutely just shooting at anything nearby. A couple of depth charges, a couple of torpedoes, all that good stuff ends up taking them out. Fast assault submarines pushing forward here. Although these paladins do launch a ton of torpedoes every time that they fire, or depth charges rather, every time that they fire. They really want this battleship, and indeed they will get it, but at a heavy price, right? They're paying for that with their lives. So is that trade worth it? Who's to say? Should we be reclaiming this metal instantaneously, as fast as we possibly can? Absolutely. Commander marching forward here. Scaring every single one of these units, and wow, that thing takes so much damage. The commander goes down and gets nothing. Oh, that hurts. That is a free 2,000 metal right into Orange's hands. Things are looking more and more desperate for Blue Jay as he moves in here. Front lines are looking a little bit desperate as well. Lightning tanks are here now. They're trying to push forward. Luckily, this fat boy stands strong against the lightning incursion and manages to fall back with just 760 health left. Destroyers doing good work here to keep a barrage of artillery firing onto the artillery vehicles on land here, using whatever we can in order to harass the enemy. That's the goal, right? We're trying to be as efficient as possible. Missiles coming down on our grouped up tanks is not as efficient as possible, but that's okay. Not every unit can be microed at the same time. Despite some of these players looking like absolute computers when they run all of their millions and millions of units, they are humans and they only have 2 hands. Wow, we're resurrecting the commander. Interesting. I wouldn't have done that. I absolutely would have eaten that commander up for breakfast, but I guess we're going to be resurrecting it. We're going to add that commander to our fold, and that will be a nice addition. Maybe we can walk it in and we can comm bomb with it. Maybe we are just going to bring it back and we're doing... Oh, nope. Opinions have changed. There was a new declaration. The High Council has voted, and it is no longer needed. The commander has been judged unnecessary and has been eaten up, turned into scrap, and melted down. Aerostorms are brought out here. The Cortex anti-airship, and wow, they ravaged those gunships super quickly here. Tons of paladins getting to work, but these destroyers, man, they're getting so much value. Really impressed with how effective these destroyers are. These are just the T1 destroyers, might I remind you, going up against T2 ships, making them look absolutely useless. Wow. So what we're learning here is that the Paladin is not a great option for dealing with a swarm of destroyers here. It's a decent option, but it's not great. It is good at taking out these submarines, though, so I do like that the engagement is subtly shifting in the favor of the Paladins, although there's just not enough of them at this point, which is really unfortunate. Long-range battle submarine is finally out. That's what we've been working on. That is a very powerful option. This thing can one-hit a whole lot of these units and two-hit all the rest, basically. Very powerful unit. Really difficult to push into because every time it fires, something dies. Basically just about the way that shakes out. You can see it's got a nice little underwater vision radius, but it does usually need help from some sort of scouting craft. It looks like it'll eventually find these other submarine over here. Oh, maybe. Oh, it's just barely out of range. You can see the sonar range is not quite the same as its vision range, so it needs some sort of scouting craft in order to be completely viable. Otherwise, it is not going to be able to fire at its real maximum deadly range, which you can see is really tremendous. These are definitely an underwater siege unit. These are meant to besiege any huge formations and emplacements, that sort of thing. For that reason, Paladins plus the long-range battle serpent is probably a really powerful combo. I have some deja vu about saying that, so that I must have said that before. But yeah, really powerful combo because of course the Paladin can see underwater when it fires, so that means that these battle submarines are going to be able to as well. Oh, the battle submarines get caught and they're so expensive. You really don't want to lose them. Yeah, you turn them around and they can't fire. Just like that, those battle submarines go down. Yikes. Orange being very advantageous here. We're taking advantage of every fight that we can. And yeah, I think we have enough units to jump on this blue player. We're a bit skittish. We're not sure, you can definitely sense the unconfidence here. Not quite sure exactly how well we're doing, but I think if Orange realized that there is effectively 0 army left for the blue player, they would easily jump on top of this. Yeah, I think at this point they suss out that there's no retaliation coming for them, and start probing the outer defenses here. Wow, we're actually self-destructing the laboratory. Interesting. Yeah, Blue Jay decides to forfeit the water and just get out of there. Yep, you can see in chat. Bot C's gone. Decides to pull out of that, recoup the losses, and just try and rebuild on land. Unfortunately, we never saw any T2 metal extractors here. That's a huge blunder. How did that not happen? Guys, if you're playing the backline here and your poor C-lane player does not have T2 metal extractors, ping their ass as hard as you can until they build them. And give them a T2 constructor too, of course. Because, yeah, they need every ounce of metal that they can possibly get to build up those naval units. And I think that might possibly be the reason here. Let's check if there's T2 here. There is indeed. Yep, these Moho mines. Those are absolutely the reason why Orange was able to effectively win that entire engagement. That explains it all right there, and I hope it explains it clearly to you guys as well. We've got some more of these amphibious bombs here, this time brought out by Yellow. Very interesting. They're not great, in my opinion. Again, we don't have the T2 metal extractors. That's really, really unfortunate. These armies could be so much more powerful. We could have such a better eco scale, excuse me, if we had just gotten those T2 metal extractors out already. Yeah, that's really unfortunate to see. The amphibious bombs are crawling forward here. They're interesting, right? They're kind of like a... I don't even know. What do you call this? I mean, they're a suicide unit, but they can barely get close. Are they efficient? Like, when one of these explodes, it gives up its life, and it can only attack once, right? But it is a nice attack, I suppose. None of them are being self-destructed here, so we're not really getting maximum value. But it's also because none of them can even get close, so... Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I have mixed feelings about using these amphibious bombs. The Scuttle is a lot better. You can cloak it. You can move it around. It moves pretty quickly. It's amphibious. I like the Scuttle a hell of a lot more than either of the Bedbug or the Tumbleweed. The other amphibious bombs here, the dumb amphibious bombs, as I would call them. A little bit of a remaining navy here. Some green ships being pumped out by Jack Snacks or Jack 5 Knacks, depending on if you're a big Knack fan. I know Video Game Donkey sure is a Knack fan. Shout out to Video Game Donkey. There we go. most bizarre shout out I've ever given. I don't know if I've ever even given a shout out before. Might be a channel first. Yeah, these long range plasma cannon shots are really piercing this Overseer. This Overseer is actually deflecting them around into really vital economy. You can see if this glances a shot out in this direction, it's going to go right into some advanced energy production here. And if it glances a shot off in this direction, it might go into the advanced navy, advanced shipyard here. Yeah, that is kind of unfortunate. Huge array of these basilisks. Very nice to see. I do like those. Very powerful. This navy has just continued to grow. You can see this is the undead navy. There's like 2 units in this entire composition that are... There's exactly 2 units, actually. 2 units that were original. Oh, now we're down to 1. Yeah, that hurts. Phenomenally well done by Shootapalooza. Very, very nicely done. Love to see that excellent navy gameplay here. What happened over here? Oh, wait, no. This is Purple's forces. These have been parked out here for a while. All that amazing defensive structure that was built up over here is just evaporated under these really heavy battleships, the Despot. Wow, these dragons getting tremendous value. Free reign to just liquidate as many of these forces as they really want. They got 2 battleships, so they're going to get a 3rd? I think they will. Yeah, they might even get a few more here. The anti-air is over here, but the battleships are pushing forward and just don't care at all. This is really unfortunate to see for the purple player. Really nicely done here by Mikkel. Yeah, we melt down the battleships. Why the hell not? Very good. Okay, well, this army just suddenly became extremely less threatening. We do have some of these fast assault submarines pushing forward here, though. Definitely could be dangerous, that's for sure. These are just the T1 harpoons, though, the regular torpedo launchers, the T1 torpedo launchers. So they're not, they're not the best. Yeah, you can see just how much damage these long-range battle submarines do. They really can fire from tremendously far away. We need some seekers brought out. Skaters. Sorry, seekers are the hovercraft. Skaters. We need some skaters brought out for sonar vision here. Aerostorms are actually in trouble here. There's just enough dragons to shoot those down. Ooh, but the fighters come in here. You can see them. blasting away at these dragons. It always amazes me how resilient these dragons are. I mean, they can contend with humongous fighter storms here. One of them even survives and just completely shrug it off. Really, really powerful. Always amazing. Battle submarine goes down. We have the Kraken, the long-range battle submarine for the Cortex player here moving in. And suddenly, Zeus Talos is in a whole lot of trouble. I gotta say, I think it's because these T2 metal extractors were never built. I really do. I really think that was probably where this entire thing went wrong. If we look at the purple player here... Oh, well, the purple player was actually the backline player, which is interesting. But yeah, if we take a look here, of course, they have the economy to support all this. So it's no surprise that their navy is going to outgrow the player who has not built any kind of economic expansion. So Zeus Talos, you were really close. You actually had all the cards in the right spot. You had the play. What you probably should have done, this is just my suggestion, was probably to build some land economy here, ask for a T2 constructor, and build up a T2 economy, and I think that would have served you very, very well. Now we're in a split sea position here. The northern team, the northeastern team, the blue team, has control over the northern sea. Very, very on theme there. The red team, likewise, has control of the southern sea, with the orange player dominating that. So now we need to see what the orange player is going to do in order to advance his team's agenda here. For the most part, we are focusing a whole lot on these missile carriers, what are they called? The cruise missiles. And making sure that we're sieging the front lines here. But you know what I'm going to say. We got to go for those amphibious units. It's the right way to do this. Siege the bases over here. Get those amphibious units walking up. And once this player is out of your way, zoop, right into the back line. All access path. Wipe the map here. Blue dragons are out here. Blue eyes, white dragon. The blue dragons are out here and they're trying to blast this down, but there's enough arrow storms here to ward those away, so they will not get any ground. Likewise here for the purple or the green player, whichever one can get to it first, I would love to see an amphibious complex. I think that's exactly the next step that we need to go for here. We've already won the sea. There's no reason to do anything except to go for those amphibious units, and that'll be our next step here. Also, if you notice that there's a patch of area where the enemy fighter wall is flying over and you have control over it, definitely get some anti-air under that. If we get some anti-air ships here, this fighter wall is going to evaporate, and then suddenly bombing runs become a whole hell of a lot more effective. I note that because I do see some anti-air ships moving into position here, and so indeed a lot of these fighters are going to start evaporating, which means that after a little bit, not really very much time at all, you can see that this fighter wall is going to be completely taken down, and especially up north here, it's going to be completely exposed. I mean, this section right here is going to be alright, but over here, there's going to be absolutely no fighter wall whatsoever. Devilman says these are fakes. What is he talking about? Oh. We're making decoy fusion reactors. That's interesting. I have never seen someone build these before. Huh. You know, it's not like a terrible idea. I guess if I was bombing and I was looking for a big cluster of something to bomb, yeah, I would probably choose this. I don't know how much these can stand up to. They do have 5,000 health each. Are they explosive? They are a little bit explosive. Interesting. Huh. Yeah, I really don't know. We'll have to see, I suppose, here. The front line is concaving in a little bit, but I do see T3 units coming out, so I think that's probably why. Probably stepping up to T3 as we speak. That's probably why there's a little bit of a push happening here. That, and also this Navy has now won, so there's a whole lot of new firepower being redirected all over the place. You see the pea shooter. You haven't seen that video, go check it out. The Black Hydra equals pea shooter video. That's pretty funny. There's a graphic in there that I thought was pretty funny. This is a lot of submarines out now. These are just T1 submarines, though, so they're not going to be tremendously effective. But they can certainly do some damage, I'm sure. Long-range plasma cannons have been built on this island over here, so that's quite nice. We're going to be starting a little bit of a siege here. the siege of Blue Jade 9. We have some more fusion reactors in the back line here. These ones are real, and they're actually pumping out energy. We do have a plasma deflector over here, which is quite nice. Ooh, that was a big economic hit. Those were actually providing a huge amount of the economy here for Blue Jade 9. This deflector needs to come up immediately. Remember, you can always click on these and hit high priority. Click this and we'll switch it to high priority. That'll make these focus a lot. They'll have the priority to build that up first and foremost. Might help you out here and there. Front line is slowly crumbling here for the red team. Blue Dragons moving over here. These will easily sweep away this island. There's not much to be said about that one. Tons of cruise missile ships here laying down a barrage of fire. Really, really devastating stuff. You can see every time one of those lands, it just scuffs up anything it touches. More than scuffs up, pretty badly damages, I would say. Indeed, at the very least, this metal extractor will go down, but I don't see why this base wouldn't be next. These missiles are really deadly too because they pass right through these plasma deflectors. They are not a plasma, and so indeed they will cause quite a bit of damage. There's something going on over here. Oh wow. These shots getting caught up in all these plasma bubbles. They can pierce the first one and they end up being like bounced around between all of these guys. Really interesting. This is more plasma deflector, or more plasma cannons than I think I've ever seen. Just a huge amount of these. This is really dangerous because the plasma can be deflected all the way off of this back into the back line here. This is like a straight line. So that could be really dangerous if these plasma cannons decide to target maybe, yeah, I don't know, somewhere back here. Yeah, that could absolutely be a bit of a pain. These submarines have actually made it pretty far. We're talking about getting all the way into Orange's base, which is, you know, that's a worthwhile attempt here. At the very least, we force all of the units to come back, and that is going to pull them away from the front line here. Oh, very nicely done. So while those units were away, we've built a whole bunch of these resurrection submarines, and we're actually going to put a bunch of these fallen units back together. Very cheeky play. I'm really liking what's going on here from Jack Snacks. Very nice. Very nice indeed. Northern Sea has been very quiet. I really, really, really have to encourage you. If you're watching this video, make a promise to me. Make a promise to your buddy TNT. Build some amphibious units. Just do it. What harm could it bring? What harm would it bring to send one of these juggernauts through the water and have a walk around on this side of the map over here? Surely it couldn't be that harmful. Not to you anyway. Harmful to the enemy for sure. Dragons taking these hits from these Mercuries like it's you know, like it's nothing. Little bit of a tap 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 on the outside of their thick armored holes. They're actually discouraged. Okay. I don't think they understand it. You know, there's no scouting anymore to prove exactly how little there actually is. The air wall has evaporated because these have not been rerouted. Wow. It would appear that this area was nuked, and I didn't even notice it. Good job, Mr. Commentator. I know you guys rushed down to the comments before I even caught that. Yikes. Yeah, sorry, the Saban player here was nuked out of existence. We have barely any economy left over. Windmills for energy production and advanced metal extractors for well, metal production here. What was I looking for back? Oh yeah, I was going to look at this. I think this is probably still routed. Yep. We're routed right over these enemy units. So indeed, every one of these planes is probably getting shot down. I see a few returning home. Maybe there's a few survivors here, depending on how this navy moves around. Interesting. Somehow this shredder was actually caught in the resurrection field here. This navy continues to grow here. These submarines keep coming out. And they're not getting a tremendous amount of value, but I guess they do scuff up these units a little bit here. Destroyer in a little bit of trouble. 5 health left on that bad boy. It will go down. Say what you want about those T1 submarines, but they did take down a destroyer. Nicely done here. Meanwhile, Orange has not pressed the advantage by building an amphibious lab either. So I have to give just as many points off for, for not building an amphibious lab. Wow, did you see that plasma shot? I went all the way from back on that island over to here and landed right here. Don't know how it even didn't chain react all of these construction turrets. Absolutely seems like it should have. Nuke right there almost took out a whole bunch of this army, or this navy rather, but luckily it did not. Ragnarok is up and running. I was wondering how we're firing so much plasma all at once. We do have a Ragnarok up on the mountain. We're firing down at this base. Red desperately trying to hold on, but there's really nothing you can do against a Ragnarok. It is the game ender after all. We're gonna need to see some exaggerated plays. We need to see something big. You know what'd be big? Sending some units over to the side and pushing through this area. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Look, we have one Titan here. What's one Titan gonna do against 500 platypus that you just route around this way? Boop, boop. Draw on the map. Maybe let me make it really clear. You just go like that and then down like this. I mean, look at what you win if you send a unit through there. Whoa, nuke came down right on the front line, so that's gonna wipe away a whole lot of that. Send units through here. You get one player. You get these advanced fusion reactor. That chain reacts. Let's just take a look here. Chain reacts all of this stuff. Very nice. Probably even sets off all of these. You also get this player who's just barely rebuilding, so they don't have any defenses. You might get this player back here. And once this player's out of the way, then it's easy to sweep through on this side as well. And you've won the game. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. Juggernaut out here, leading the front, giving the vision for the Ragnarok to lay down oppressive fire from behind. Very nicely done. I see nuclear brightness. Every time one of those explodes, you see it in the sky. So many fighters being pumped out here, and for what? We don't... there's a tiny little fighter wall here. Either of these players going here could definitely deal with this fighter wall. Do we have bombers coming out, or are those scout planes? Those are scout planes. We could definitely go for some bombers. I think I'd be comfortable saying that bombers are in the cards here. So many advanced fusion reactors. Do we have the... Oh yeah, we do have the energy converters. I didn't see those at first. Fusto Ra doing an excellent job of tearing up that economy and making sure that we have the... making sure that the entire team has the energy production that we're going to need. We're managing to convert that energy right now, but I have a feeling that if it was ever to stop converting, as soon as it hit this red bar, everyone else's bar would just go whoop, completely fill up. That's how much energy that we would be able to access at one time. But it doesn't matter because the Juggernauts are marching forward. The Calamity here shooting forward, breaching some of these defenses. The Overseers are going down. The Keepers, rather. Overseer. What is the Overseer? That's a StarCraft unit, isn't it? That's the evolved. That's the evolution of the. I don't know, the big gas bag thing. Supply depot, the Zerg supply depot. Anyway, the Keepers go down, and Yellow's base is in a whole lot of trouble here. No commander brought to the front line. I think Hired Goon would probably be the closest and most responsible, immediately speaking. But he has other things that are more pressing. Okay, there's two Juggernauts, but that's not really important right now. This construction turret is important. There it goes. Now the Juggernauts know this, and so they start to step off. They say, hey, you know what? It'd be actually pretty inconvenient to just trample this base. We probably shouldn't do that. Despite that, the yellow player does tap out in the end. Shoot-a-Palooza types GG. Wow. The T1 submarine spam has actually won out over all the ships here. That is bizarre. We're back to building cruisers, which have those depth charge launchers on them. See the very bottom one there. I mean, I suppose that's the right decision here, but the actual right decision would be to build amphibious units. Build them. If there's a single one of you out there that are unconvinced to build amphibious units by the end of this, I have failed miserably at my job. Looks like Lord Fatnut has actually stepped into the water here. We have a little bit of a water transition. It's not producing anything, and we're not actually using the lab, but we do have it in the back of our minds, which I quite like to see. You know, I like that we're broadening our horizons here. Are these ducks? No, these are manticores. They almost look like ducks from the top of the symbols. The Calamity is starting to fire on Red's base proper, not the front line here. And yeah, picking apart some of this, although a lot of it is shielded by this mountain, especially the critical economy, which is quite nice. It's not to say that it couldn't bounce off of the shield bubble somehow. I've definitely seen some pretty bizarre clips here and there. Nukes coming out. Big one wipes away a ton of these Arbiters on the front line here. That was very nice. About half of those were completely devastated. We've also got these Buccaneers, the cruisers here, coming out to lay down some more laser fire to shut down another part of these Arbiters. That's nicely done. That's a big part of that army wiped away. You'll have to see it. Are these ticks? Yeah, these are ticks. So let's get some Junos out on the field. That'd be quite nice. Rolling bombs here. How the hell did these get through? Yeah, why not? Rolling bombs more than eager to find whatever they can and detonate it. Sure. If you could sneak them through, I don't see why not. Yeah, okay. Very well done. Blue and purple juggernauts working in cohesion here to shoot down a lot of these planes with their lasers of doom as they march forward. I mean, this is an unstoppable amount of juggernauts, save for a commander's D-gun. Things are looking dire here for the red team. We absolutely need some sort of a really interesting play in order to win this out. Gotta give huge props though to Jacksnax for actually managing to push back this navy. I think that was probably what let this push become so successful, was the fact that this navy was no longer being, or rather this middle ground was no longer harassed by Orange's navy. So yeah, very nicely done here. More stuff beats less stuff. It's just that simple. Juggernauts going up like light bulbs popping off of, gosh, I don't know, whatever light bulbs pop off of. Light bulbs don't even really pop anymore. They're all LEDs. What am I even saying? Popping off like some sort of explosive, like TNT. But it doesn't matter because enough of them have not been destroyed as one of them makes it into the back line here of the light pink player. Hired Dune in quite a lot of trouble. Lord Fatnut, well, not actually the last commander here. We have a few commanders left, but certainly the last one with any sort of meaningful base. Even the backliner here, Mikkel, does not have enough eco to continue production. And indeed, that will be the end of the red team's tyranny. What a comeback. I really thought the red team had it in the bag there. At one point, the hot pink player had total control over the northern sea. The orange player had complete control over the southern sea. There really was no reason why that shouldn't have been in the Reds' favor. But phenomenal plays from the blue team, not giving up, continuing to increase their economy, and I think that was definitely the red team's undoing. They didn't keep growing. That and that calamity coming up was definitely extremely helpful. Yeah, look at that. Purple, wow. Fusto Raw, extremely outgrowing every other player. More than double the economy of the next red player on the team. Also with a really nice economy growth. And yeah, I think these two, this graph alone speaks for itself. You can see exactly how much that economy scaling really came into play there. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this amazing back and forth game on Supreme Straits. If you did, I'd like to ask you to consider subscribing, leaving a like, or maybe commenting down below what you thought of the match. And I hope you have a phenomenal rest of your day.